Hey y'all, how are you? I look a little crazy right now, but that's because I'm about to end my day with my skincare routine and then I'm gonna hop in the shower. The reason why I like to do my skincare routine before I get in the shower is because in the shower it gets steamy and it helps open up your pores so that way your products can absorb even more. So, just a little SD tip for you moving forward. But I wanted to come and really just kind of talk about what all I learned in 2025. Um, it's so crazy because I actually imagined myself sitting on the couch, like, with a drink in my hand or something, like a mocktail. And that is clearly not how this video is going because I don't even have the time to sit down right now. It's the end of the year and I am slowing down a whole lot, but along with me slowing down, I'm also preparing for 2026 as far as me offering services again full time and also just trying to navigate how that's going to go with my job too because I do offer facials also at my job at the gym. So that's a whole nother layer to what's happening for me in 2026. And I like my job, so I kind of want to keep it. But also, I just don't feel like God would want me to put a job before my business, if that makes sense. Because really, my business is a, a ministry in itself, which is something that He has confirmed for me recently. So yeah. So tonight, this evening for my skincare routine, I'm gonna go in with my Is Clinical Cleansing Complex. And this stuff is like really good. It's great for removing like makeup and everything. It removes the day. That's what I like to say for your first cleanse. My second cleanse, I'm gonna go in with the Circadia Mandelic Cleanser. And then I have all of these samples from Is Clinical also. So I have their Pro Heal Serum Advance. And then I have their active serum. This stuff actually kind of has like a little tingling sensation to it, but I'm going to go in with that. And then tonight, I will probably end with the Retinol 0.3. And I actually have a full size bottle of this. They gave me a sample at my last training, so I'm going to use the sample tonight. And then I have a sample of the Moisture Emulsion, their reparative moisturizer. So I'm gonna go in with that. So mostly Is Clinical products tonight. Not really a whole lot of Circadia products, just because my skin I feel like has been through a lot over the last couple weeks with all my traveling. So I went and picked up my daughter from her kind of extended vacation, and then I turned around like a week later and I had a mommy vacation, and then like 4 days later we went to celebrate Christmas with her great grandmother and her grandfather and her dad. So, and her grandmother on her dad's side, basically her dad's side of the family. We went to go celebrate the holidays with them. So, my skin has been under a lot of stress lately, so I'm gonna just go in with those products first. So to help with the skin cell turnover, and then I'll actually give myself a facial at some point this week. If not this week, then next week for sure. I already washed my hands, so you guys didn't get to see that. But anywho, I want to talk about what all I learned in 2025. One of the main things it's a lot of main things, I will say that, but I learned to be patient and to not force anything. Being patient and letting God deliver on His promises, like not going ahead of God to reach my goals and to reach milestones, because everything is still in His time, and being patient in my waiting too, and waiting well while I'm being patient, waiting well while I'm in that waiting season, while He works out the kinks and move things where they need to be moved at in my life. Because I walked into something last year that I was not fully prepared for. And like mentally, emotionally, I just wasn't prepared for it. And pretty much I put myself in survival mode, and it was the hardest thing for me to do. And I actually walked away. Like, God told me to walk away. And it was hard for me to do that at first, because I was like, why would you make me walk away from something that you gave me? And it's like, yeah, I gave it to you, but I gave it to you on grace. Like, basically on credit, if you will. You wasn't supposed to have it yet, because you wasn't even prepared to steward it well. And that was a part of the problem. I wasn't stewarding it well. Along with a few other things that happened and that I did. But, in a nutshell, learning to be patient and not forcing anything. And when I say not forcing anything, that means even with other people. Like, I've never been one to force relationships or friendships or anything like that. Like, every single connection that I have has just come naturally. And I try to operate in a realm of freedom, autonomy, and authenticity in every single connection that I have. That's very important to me. I don't really like being controlled. I don't like being put in a box. I don't like being, I don't like being controlled. I like freedom, meaning if I want to leave, you need to let me leave. If you want to leave, you need to be able to leave. And that goes for friendships, relationships. Well, I don't do situationships, but those things, in a nutshell. So, yeah, not forcing things. And that also goes, like, as far as just other things in life in general, like forcing myself to do things that I don't want to do, like knowing, like, so I worked out for 2 years straight, for 2 years straight, and I reached all my body goals. Well, this year I was called to deepen my relationship with Christ. And so pretty much I had lost, in the midst of all of that, I basically lost all of my muscle, all of my, like, basically my body goals went in reverse, went a whole different way. And, I was beating myself up about it, but what I realized was I'm upset that I'm having to do this to deepen my relationship with Christ, because I'm so used to doing things my way. So it was kind of like I started to idolize my body. Like, I started idolizing the actual gym, like working out, feeling like, granted, yes, it's healthy, it feels great, you're supposed to do it, your body is a temple and all of that. However, it became an idol for me. And so it had to get stripped away. Now, on the flip side of that, something that my dad told me this year was, and it really kind of hit home for me. He was like, even athletes have off seasons. Well, after working out for 2 years straight, I never had an off season. So my body was exhausted. Like, my body was physically exhausted. Yes, I felt energized. I felt good. I had all this energy, but that doesn't mean that my physical body wasn't tired, if that makes sense. So instead of me forcing myself to go work out knowing that I didn't want to, I honestly just said, forget it. That's what I did. Yes, I did gain all my weight back, to include all the weight that I had lost when I started my fitness journey. And I'm okay with that. I mean, obviously, I know what all I need to do to get back to where I was, but doing it differently this time, if that makes sense. So that way it doesn't become an idol. So, yeah. So, the number one thing that I had to learn this year, and I will say this one, when oh my gosh, when Spirit told me this one, y'all, it was the hardest pill that I had to swallow. Like, it hit me in the face, in the chest, in the gut. Like, I didn't even realize that I have been doing this my entire life. But I have to learn to be kind without betraying myself. Yes, I had to do a dramatic pause. I had to learn to be kind without betraying myself. To this day, I still have to give myself a gentle reminder of that one. That's all I'm going to say. I don't have any of my clean skin towels, so I'm just going to use one of my microfiber towels from my business whenever I do facials. But yes, so being kind without betraying myself. What does that mean? That means not overextending myself, knowing that I'm exhausted. That means not giving so much of myself away to other people, especially when they show me that they don't really care about me the same way. Learning how to keep some of my juice for myself. Like, just because I have the resources or just because I've already been through it doesn't mean that I have to share with everybody. Yes, I still want to be helpful, but I have to consider, all things like the relationship, the connection. Is that person a taker? Because I'm naturally a giver. So is that person a taker? Is it reciprocal? All those things matter. Because what happens is I've come across more takers in my life than I have givers. And I've freely given of myself to other people, to those people. To the point where I have nothing left for myself. Or even just things that I genuinely want, or things that I genuinely cherish, I've given them away. And don't get me wrong, on one end that's positive, right? Because that means that I don't really have attachments to things. But on the other end, it's like, did that person truly deserve to even have that if I cherished it, So like, for example, I enjoy gardening. And I came across some soil that I got for free. And for whatever reason, I gave the soil away. And I felt so conflicted internally about giving away that soil. And it wasn't necessarily that I had a connection to it, to the soil itself. It was the fact that something that mattered to me, I gave away to somebody who it didn't matter to, and who also did not deserve. Well, I ain't gonna say did not deserve, but I should not have given it to them, right? Knowing that I would feel away. Tonight, I do not have on my little wristlets because I'm doing this prior to my shower. And I didn't get all the soap off, but that's okay. It's not like it's gonna dry me out or anything. I got the majority of it off, that's what matters. So when washing your face too, remember that it's important to hit your eyelids. A lot of people miss that part. And the backs of your ears. And if you can, even just doing your ears too. If you choose to. I mean, I typically do my ears in the shower, so. But I like to hit like the back of my ears, if that makes sense, like right there. then the eyelids, because those are the most common places missed for whatever reason whenever people are doing their skincare routine. So yeah. So yeah, the eyelids and the back of the ears, most common places that people miss when they're doing their skincare routine. So, anywho, I learned that no one will save you even after you've saved them. That was an eye opener. This year I went through some very traumatic things that I really don't even know if I truly want to talk about. And I probably won't talk about them, but just know that when I say the people that I expected to show up for me physically did not show up for me, and the people that I did not expect to show up for me were the ones that showed up for me. And when I say they showed up for me, I mean like prayer, phone calls, like pulling up on me at my house, like making sure that I eat, making sure that I keep moving forward, just, you know, the things that matter, like pretty much like not leaving me behind, not allowing me to stay in the state that I was in. Because I went through a lot in 2025. Like 2025, worst year of my life. I'll just say that. Like, in a way, I can't wait for it to end. But I'm happy that it happened. And it's so crazy saying that out loud as I reflect on the things that I've been through in 2025. But I'm happy that it happened because it brought some things to... It brought a lot of things to awareness for me. So yeah. Community matters, but who's in it matters more. And that kind of goes back to saying, like, no one will save you even after you save them. Your community matters, right? Obviously, having a community matters. That is something that I learned. As the friend, as the low maintenance friend who will disappear for months at a time and then pop back up like everything is all cool, I learned that maintaining my community is very important. But I also realized that who is in my community is just as important. Actually, even more important. Having a community, yes, that's important. But knowing, like, having very specific people in your community is 10 times more important than just having, because you can have a community and it's a pointless community, right? Like, what good is it to have a community if those people in your community don't know how to be in communion? Make it make sense. So yes, who's in it matters more. So I have more women in my community now than I do men, which I'm very proud of, because I grew up as a tomboy. I feel like I grew up as a tomboy, and so I ended up having more male friends than I did female friends for the majority of my life. Now I can honestly say that I have more female friends, but it's the type of females that I have in my community that matters to me, right? These are women who have a prayer life. These are women who have a relationship with God. These are women who have a lot of things in common with me. These are women who, you know, they're not here in my life to take. They are here to also give. We are pouring into each other's cups. We are showing up for each other in whatever capacity that we allow each other to show up for each other too. And also, we don't push past boundaries as well in that. So, like, yes, if my friend needs me, I'm gonna automatically be there. However, if she says, not for this, okay, cool, I respect that. You know what? If all you want me to do for you is pray, that's all I'm gonna do. I don't have to know details. I just have to submit your name to the Lord. He already knows what you got going on. So those things matter. I learned to adapt and flow with what your mind and body needs. My mental health was like at a huge risk this year, and I had to realize that I needed to. I can't even get this open. I needed to genuinely like just stop, right? Just literally just take a step back from me. At one point, I told one of my close friends, I told her, I said, you know what? I'm going to help you in everything that you are willing to allow me to help you in, because I don't even want to think about myself right now. That's straight up what I told her. I don't even think about my problems. I don't. I had so many issues happening to me this year. I was just like, I don't want to think about myself. So please, whatever you want me to do, task me. Straight up. And I was like, if it has nothing to do with, you know, showing up for her, being a mom as much as I could, because even that was a whole craziness. Like, obviously my kid was taken care of, but it wasn't to my full capacity as a mom. And I can say that because I know the type of mom that I am. I know the type of mom that I strive to be. And I know the type of childhood that I want my kid to have. So the thing with the serums by Is Clinicals is they are very like, I don't know if they're water based, but if you can see, it's almost like they're water based because of how loose they are. So I try to be careful when I'm putting them on. This is empty. Yeah, this is empty. That's an old one. So because of my new job, because of my job at the gym, I'm able to get I've been getting all these samples because I've been going to the trainers that they've been sending me to. But now I need to start doing the actual like virtual trainings so that way I can get the full size products. So yeah, so like I was saying, so earlier this year too, as I've already discussed, I was kind of beating myself up about not working out. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's a part of my mental health. Like, I should be working out. The truth is, mentally, I didn't even want to work out. Just as much as I didn't want to work out physically, I didn't want to mentally either. I would literally walk into my home gym, look around, like, I'm telling y'all, I'm talking get dressed, walk into my home gym, prepared, like, yes, we finna kill it. Walk in there, look around, and say, I'm not doing this shit. I'm exhausted. That's how I knew that I just needed to stop. So my 5 a.m. routine had to switch. But my 5 a.m. routine was something that I wasn't used to, which consisted of reading my Bible. I've tried to read the Bible several times in my life. And mind you, I'm in my mid-30s. I've tried to read the Bible several times in my life, and I could never just get into it because I didn't know how to read it. But again, 2025 called me to build a closer relationship with the Lord, so with Christ. So I had no choice but to try. And I did figure it out. Okay, so the Pro Heal Serum Advanced is actually a vitamin C product. So with Is Clinical, their packaging is typically like this blue color. But their vitamin C products are typically in this red color packaging. So just to let y'all know that. I'm going to go in with my retinol last. Now the thing with retinol that a lot of people don't know, and I'm learning that as I'm talking like to clients more, when it comes to applying retinol, you have to wash your face in the morning. You cannot just splash with water because water does not break up the bonds and remove the retinol. You have to use an oil-based cleanser to do that. So, yes, You do your retinol at night. In the morning, oil-based cleanser, gentle cleanser, moisturize, sunscreen, go about your day. But an oil-based cleanser is necessary. But yeah, so I had to learn how to just adapt and flow with what my mind and my body needs. And as I started doing that more this year, I started to get more clear about what I wanted to do and how I wanted to do it, right? And there was more, honestly, and it was less moments of that and more moments of confusion. That's just the truth of it. So yes, the enemy was hard at work on me this year. But once I learned to just adapt and flow, I didn't feel so much pressure. Like I didn't feel like I was in so much of survival mode. Like I truly created peace in the midst of chaos in my life. So yeah. This year I learned it's exactly what it looks like, so don't try to convince myself that it isn't. Yes, that's about men. It's exactly what it looks like. You already know, you saw what you saw. You know what he did. He know what he did. He knows that you saw it. Why are you trying to convince yourself that it wasn't that? Why are you allowing him to lie to you about what it was? Stop doing that. So yeah. So for me, that was about men. But obviously you can apply that in other ways too. With friends, with family members, with help, with your pets. Because even the dogs be up to no good and be trying to pretend like they ain't do nothing. But yeah, it's exactly what it looks like, so don't try to convince myself that it isn't. Being easy to please doesn't mean having a lack of standards. I have been told by several people that I am very easy to please. And I've also been told by several people that I'm bougie. Both are true, and both can very much so be true. Yes, I am very bougie. I love a good upscale vibe. Well, I love upscale taste in hood environments. That's what I'll say. Or hood things in upscale environments. That's it. Hood things in upscale environments. That's what I love. I love flowers. Very simple. I love flowers. I'm not saying that you got to go out and get me a long stem rose bouquet every week. I'm not saying that. Baby, the grocery store roses, just fine. Just fine for me. Just because I'm easy to please, that does not mean that I lack standards. Because I cut your ass off. I forgot this is for social media. I'll cut you off. The last thing that I learned this year, and it actually came from one of the women that I went to quite a bit for some advice and for some help. Shout out to her. But she saw everything I was going through. Not like, she wasn't like present, but I wore it on my body, on my face. It, like, you could, honestly, anybody who knows me knows that this year I was in rare form. My aura was all jacked up. But she told me the last time I went to go see her, she said, I think you're missing a piece to your spiritual journey. And she didn't even say like to my spiritual journey, but I knew that that's what she meant. She said that you're warring in the spirit, but you're forgetting to build. And when she said that, I said, oh my gosh, you gotta be kidding me. And she's like, yes, we war with one hand, but we build with another. Even in the Bible, people were like, even though there was spiritual warfare in the Bible, right? They were also still building. You don't think Noah went through spiritual warfare? Everybody was looking at him like he was crazy. Like, bro, what you building the whole ark for? And mind you, something that came to me too this year was God doesn't give us all of the information that he wants us to do. He don't give us all the information at once. He gives it to us in pieces. So it takes time for us to even know what it is that he wants us to do. I'm pretty sure over time, he like, oh, you need to move your family over here. Noah did that. Check. Okay, now you need to go and collect this specific type of wood. Check. You need to cut it into these dimensions. Check. Literally, God gives us things in pieces. He don't give us the whole vision. He just gives it to us in pieces. And the reason he does that is because other people, there are helpers too, because he loves, giving us helpers. There are always helpers too that are included in the whole big picture. So, that being said, even though everybody was looking at Noah upside his head while he was building the ark, like, are you crazy? Ain't no flood coming, da da da. He was still being obedient and still building the ark. Like, that just stood out to me, that like in the most craziest way. Like, you know what I'm saying? So when she told me that, like, literally a light bulb went off, and it was like, my problem is I'm spending too much time stuck in the spiritual warfare, stuck in the healing, and I'm forgetting to, one, be joyous and find joy in my day. I'm forgetting to build my life in the way that I need to. So those were just like, I don't know, when she said that, like I said, a light bulb went off in my head. And then what I forgot to put on my list, but it kind of throttled me into purchasing this home for myself and my child, was anything I can do with a man in a marriage, I can do for myself. I don't need a man. And it's so crazy because Robin on Waiting to Exhale, I think she probably had that same, like, what is it called? Revelation. She had that same revelation. Robin and Waiting to Exhale had that same revelation towards the end of the movie, after she, got pregnant and everything. And she was just like, you know what? Who said I can't have my baby? Who said I can't have that house in Scottsdale that I told that man that I wanted, thinking that he would get it for me? Who said that I couldn't, like, it's like, baby, you don't need a man to achieve any of the goals that you want for yourself. Now, I will never say I don't need a man in life, because I ain't gonna lie, it's some things that they just make easier. And that's just the truth of it. However, I can do it with and without a man. And that's just the truth of it. And so, yeah, when I realized that, I was like, Nisha, well, at first I went to God first, and I was like, God, I need a win for this year. I don't know what it is going to look like. I don't know what it's going to be, but I need a win. And God literally sat me down and was like, think about all the tools that you have. You have tools in your toolbox. You're not dumb. Like, you're smart. Use your brain. And you've done some of the things before. And the first thing that came to my mind was buy a house. Skincare, real estate, like, and I'm not a real estate agent, but I know enough about real estate to know that I could easily buy a house. Like, I had everything I needed to buy a house. So I executed. And I bought a house in like 60 days. It took me about a month to, choose a realtor and then explain to her what I wanted. And then just, us figuring out like all the things that came with it. And the reason why it took me 60 days, obviously it didn't take me 60 days to be in escrow. Like, my escrow was normal escrow. Was a normal escrow timeline. But it took me about 60 days because I contemplated. I wanted to make sure that, I was being smart about it and everything, and that I wasn't just jumping into the first house that I saw. So location mattered for me. Obviously the numbers matter clearly. And then safety too, because again, it's just me and my kids. So, and yeah, those were things that kind of mattered to me. Everything else, I was like, will work itself out. But location definitely mattered because I wanted to be closer to the city so I could be closer to my girlfriends, but I also wanted to be close to my family who lives in an outer lying city. So that's really what it came down to as far as location. And then obviously safety. And being that I had started my job too. So it was a lot of things that, you know, I started to, like, God basically put me in a whole different position that I was not expecting that I needed to be in based on things that I learned over the year of 2025. So even though it was the hardest year and the worst year of my life, I learned a lot this year, and I was forced to sit down and reflect. And I'm grateful for that because that is something that I have not done in a very long time. And even like in my reflection, realizing that a lot of things that happened to me, I allowed other people to do those things. So even just taking the accountability too, like taking accountability and saying, he did that because I let him do that. She moved that way because I allowed her to move that way in my life. Like, I knew who these people were. These people showed me who they were. They showed me what they were willing to do. They showed me how much they cared and didn't care. I allowed them to basically do what they wanted to do freely in my life for the sake of not being chaotic, for the sake of, you know, not wanting to speak up because, oh, I don't want to lose that person because they're a good person. Yeah, fuck that. Clear, like, you could be a good person and still have fucked up intentions, still have messed up intentions. That don't mean I have to let you run rampant in my life. That's crazy. So yes, it's a lot, and it's a lot of stuff that I used to tolerate that I just don't tolerate no more. Yep. This was a really long, like, short but long skincare routine. Because it was like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 products. I don't think I'm going to do anything. I don't think I'm going to put the moisturizer on top of the retinol. I think I'm going to just let the retinol do its thing. And then remove it tomorrow morning and then go in with my moisturizer. But yeah, so that is basically what all I learned in 2025. I hope that this may have triggered some people to think and reflect on their 2025. Let me know in the comments what some of you may have learned also for yourselves in 2025. And just know that if you had a hard year, you're not the only one. A lot of us went through a lot. We just didn't say anything or really publicly show it or announce it. I mean, people who really know me, they saw it, like, without me having to speak. But for someone who didn't know me, like, you would probably just be like, she look like she on that shit. But yes, so that is the end of this video. I'm about to go hop in the shower so I can get in the bed because I'm tired, and I do it all over again tomorrow.